everybody. It's the Hoops Talks. Woo! Good morning. Saturday morning. Yeah, we record on Saturday and post on Wednesday.
Deal with it.
All three of us have been talking about how we need naps lately. We are all tired. We're exhausted. We're not gonna lie. We're gonna have a great show today. We have a fabulous guest that I think is going to infuse our lives and really dig deep into really humanitarian issues that are currently happening in the United States. So I think that's going to be a really good boost for us. But I think realistically, we're all really tired. We're so tired.
Mentally,
I'm so tired.
physically, whatever else there is out there, we're tired too.
We're tired. Everyone's tired. Everyone's tired. Just so, yeah. Karen, how's it going in San Francisco?
Besides tired, it's warm this weekend, so hopefully I can drag my tired ass to the pool.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. That's some good goals, I think.
That's all I want to make a goal for after this episode.
I like that.
Rest of the day.
I like that. That's valid. Kendall, you are now back in Utah.
Yes, with working internet.
Yes, I know. We're not going to see you go to the side or leave so you're going to have have a whole new hoops off.
I know.
What is going on in Utah? How's it going there?
It's cooling down here, which has been nice. That's about it. I got my absentee ballot and I put that shit in the mail, filled it out.
Let's track it.
Put it in
I saw
mail.
that.
Yeah, it felt really good. I yelled out Biden-Harris when I dropped it into the mailbox at the post office because this is a very red state. And
ballsy.
Yeah. Cool.
Well, Utah had a moment this week too with the whole cougar, the guy running in Utah. Did you see that, Liz?
No.
Yeah. So there's this video going around of this guy who comes upon cougar or mountain lion, and she's with her cubs, and of course she's like, "Get the fuck out of here!"
Yes.
But everyone headlined it as if the cougar was stalking him, and it's like this motherfucker was trying to get video of little cubbies, and the mom was straight up, not having it.
I really want to blame Disney for this kind of shit because it's real. These are real animals that will really kill you. Mm-hmm. And I don't understand why then you got to drag that mama cougar out to be murdered because your stupidity. So please don't. It's a wild animal. Fuck, like I have like the domesticated dog. She bit me once because I had to stick my finger in her mouth to like put a pill down. Yeah. And she was my pet. So, I mean, come on.
I know. 6 minutes. He got 6 minutes of footage. It's like, put the phone down and fucking get out of there.
No.
Right? And he's walking backwards the whole time. Could you imagine if he had just like tripped over something? He's a goner.
Wow. She was being nice because if she really wanted to murder him, she would have had it.
Done. I know.
And then the things he's yelling, "Get out of here! Stop it!
Go away! Oh, But there's a better clapback video, or not clapback, but it was hilarious. So this other guy goes, headline cougar stalking jogger for 6 minutes. And he dresses up with like a wig and tries to like older cougar and is like, "Hi, I'm established."
Oh, God. Oh, man. That's why I told you, Kendall, when you were looking at the bison, I'm like, hey, make sure you're like safe distance. These things are still wild, even though they're super cute. I'm sure you want to like pet them. They will stampede your ass. Gotta respect that shit. I too, like you, filled out my ballot. And I put it in we went to a ballot box. So we didn't do the mail. We actually have our local ballot box. A legitimate one? It was legitimate.
What are the tips to know what's legitimate and what's fake?
Well, it's fully covered. Yeah, one looks official. One is a slot that says with a taped on sign that says ballot here. And the other one is like legitimately a ballot box, like completely wrapped, like, you know, it is with all the ballot. And also you can go to, for us, Los Angeles County Registrar, and like find your location and make sure that's, you know, I just figure, you know, I wanted to do it that way just because I know like the post office, I don't know, I just figured maybe that would help with, you know, we have the capability to go to one of these ballots because they were nearby. So we figured we would do that. But I was very, very empowered, you know, in doing it. And I think part of being tired is also like the fact that we're racing towards something that we don't even know. Like before you're like, okay, if we vote, you can find out that day. And now it's up in the air what's going to happen. And I also think I've been watching too much news and maybe I need to calm that down.
Yes.
I've needed a lot of naps.
So my ballot hasn't come, and that's made me worried.
What?
So I Googled it, and you can look to see where your ballot's at, even in terms of it being mailed to you. So it says it's on its way.
Good. But it's really odd. That's really odd.
I've been absentee for years because I was like,
that's so much. Yeah. So odd though. Interesting.
That is weird because I tracked mine to make sure to see if it got sent to my place in Long Beach, and it said sent, and I was like, oh well, I want to switch the address to Utah, and so I switched it, and then it changed and it said reprinting.
Right.
So they had already sent mine. I switched it. They reprinted it. I already got it. It's in the mail. So that's crazy. I haven't gotten it yet.
Definitely keep an eye on that.
Yes.
One more thing before we go into house cleaning updates. I will say that I used this app called ResistBot. I did it on Twitter. Right? Yep. I used it to write a letter to Senator Feinstein after the judicial hearing and her disappointing behavior during and towards that whole hearing. I really think she let everybody in California down. And so I expressed that through using the ResistBot. It's very easy, super fast. You did it on Twitter. You can then download it. You can then, if you want, I chose not to post it because I'm like, okay, I just didn't want to, but you can, or you can let them post it. So I will say that I've tried it. I've done it. It's really great. And, you know, every time you make that, you know, decision to contact your senators or anybody that it works for you, it's noted. And I think that's a good thing to do. So I was really disappointed with Senator Feinstein's behavior during the judicial hearings and then after, and it was pretty disgusting. And I think she failed California and her constituents in doing and how she's leading. So perhaps, you know, someone needs to run against her at least to show her, hey, like you too can be fired. Okay. So I just want to put that out that happened. So with that, actually I'm starting to claim a little more power. Okay. Yes. With that, let's do some quick house cleaning and updates. So as always, guys, listen to, I cannot tell you, download the Good News Radio app. The new improvements are so good. Like it's so good. It's so easy. Not only just to listen to our show, but there are so many different shows on the network. We have the sports side, and then there's the regular lifestyle. And then we also have like Ask Zena, which is about career help and mental health. I mean, Brunch with Besties, Never Not Extra, you know, so many, Courtside, Nick Hamilton. There's so many great shows. It's a local Los Angeles station. And I'm so proud. Like there's a few, they did get our new logo, which I sent over to them. But it's great. And I've been listening to, you can like, you know, go back and, listen to old archived. You can listen to us live and then like listen to us the next day. So there's a lot of great features that are updated, and you'll be supporting a local Black owned business here in Los Angeles. And all of our Black creators and our Hispanic creators and all the colors of the rainbow rainbow creators that are on the Good News Radio podcast network. So please download that. Additionally, we will be having our episodes come on other platforms like Apple Podcasts and Spotify. So they may be a little later in going on because we really want to give that experience to those that are listening to us on our app. And it's going to, there'll be a involvement there. So we'll go into that when we need to. Always follow us on Twitter. We're at the Hoops Talk Pod. Follow us on Instagram. We're at the Hoops Talking. Still can't change that one, but I'm working on it. We're at TikTok at the Hoops Talk Podcast. And of course, you can subscribe to our YouTube channel. We're the Hoops Talk channel so that you can see our faces. Today, I didn't get the memo because both Karen and Kendall are wearing their orange WNBA hoodies, just like Natalie Portman did in her recent post for the women's, the Women's Sports Foundation, which we'll talk about later, which I know Kendall had a hand in that with Yahoo Sports. But if you do see us on YouTube, you get to see that. I have on, if you could see that, it's the Candace Parker Unbothered t-shirt.
Oh, yeah.
That was created by a fan. So we'll tag her too because she's awesome. So that is it. When we come back, we're going to welcome our guest, Elsa Collins. And so we will be right back. Welcome, Elsa Collins, to the Hoops Talk.
Hi, Elsa.
Hi, guys. Thanks for having me.
Oh my gosh, we're so excited to have you. I know that I first saw you during an event where you were speaking about social justice and about, just like loads of, topics that came up with social justice, voting. During I forget what the event was, but it was the National Basketball Women's Association. And it was so compelling. That was one of the panels that I really remembered. And I reached out to you and I'm like, gosh, will you come onto the podcast? And you said yes. So it's really awesome to have you on. I read your bio because I always read up about my guests. And I always say, everything I learn on the internet. So please correct me if I misspeak. But you are such a force in these issues, these issues that are current issues in the United States. You are on the front line. So I just want to read really quickly. Okay, you are the founder of the Ideator, which is a social impact and political consulting group of sports, culture, and entertainment. You're a co-founder of She Se Puede, which I am currently obsessed with, which is the destination for a modern Latina who are ready to level up her life. That's me. That's me. You're also a co-founder of This Is About Humanity, which is a community dedicated to raising awareness about families in vulnerable communities. And I know that has a lot to do with what's happening in the border with children and families and ICE. And I know you visited, would love to dig into that as well. And then you're also a founding member of I Am a Voter, which you're wearing a vote shirt, which is a nonpartisan movement dedicated to creating a cultural shift around voting and civic engagement. So if that wasn't enough, you're also raising 3 children that are biracial. So, that in itself is, a movement. I don't want to say a movement, but it's definitely something that the discussions that we're having in the current climate. So, I just also want to say, and exactly, ladies, I can go on and on, but you were raised on both sides of the border. So San Diego and Tijuana, Mexico. So we got some things to talk about.
Do we have enough time?
So I think something that would be really interesting to start with is if you could tell us your journey from, having both sides, being raised in Tijuana and San Diego, and kind of, what did that add to the perspective that you use today in the humanitarian efforts that you're on the front lines with?
Yeah, wow. How much time do you have? No, I'm just kidding.
As long as you want.
Yeah.
Yeah. So growing up on both sides of the border, being raised on both sides, to me, the border was not really what it is today. It was really a wonderful experience being able to cross the border. I would, live in Mexico and go to school in the United States. There was a period of time where I was just going to school in Mexico. So really just having that experience of, for me, taking the best of both cultures and really living them and enjoying them. There was some, adaptation required, especially at the time where I was growing up. Mexican culture is different, and the way that women are raised. I think it's changing now. It obviously has evolved, but at that time was, very much gender roles and sort of understanding like, oh, okay, well, this is kind of what your goal is in life. And sort of, having that perspective of having studied in the United States and understanding that maybe I could have a different goal, going to college and away from home, which, was not really in the cards for me. I'm the youngest of 5, and my mother's very traditional Mexican and was like, you're going to like stay home and study. But she was like, but you can apply anywhere. So I was like, okay, great. So I applied and I got into Stanford, and then she's like, oh, well, that's great, but you're still going to stay at home. And that was when one of my older sisters was like, I think she needs to go to Stanford.
That's a commute from San Diego.
I know. We need to do that, which of course now in retrospect was amazing because that's where I met my husband, and my life took a completely different turn. But, just in terms of having that perspective of understanding, different cultures and different countries and what people's experiences are, and really being able to put yourself into other people's shoes. And so for me, growing up, with a mom who was always involved in giving back, I just kind of felt that that's what I was, everyone was supposed to do, but certainly I was going to be doing. And as I've sort of progressed in my career, and as you mentioned, having 3 multiracial children, everything that I do is really focused on making this world a better place for, for them and for my family. And so I am involved in so many different things because I think it really is going to take all those different arenas, helping people make those connections and connecting the dots for people to realize that everything's really interconnected, like no issue stands on its own. So yeah, that's just a little bit.
Yeah, no, that's really, I love how you talked about the interconnectedness, because that is such a strong thread through, all the different organizations that you have. And so did you start with the ideator? I mean, do you have, like, what's the timeline on it? Because I believe I feel like I Am Voter might,
no.
I don't know.
Essentially what ended up happening was, I'd worked really hard in the 2016 election. It did not, end up the way that I think a lot of people thought it would. And so I kind of went into like a depression about just like, whoa, really having no idea what was in store for us, but knowing it was not going to be a situation that was going to be probably the most optimal for my family and for a lot of families for a lot of different reasons. And so kind of went into like a month of like, what is my purpose? And recognizing that, I sat at a very interesting position between, culture and sports and entertainment and grassroots organizations. And so it's the idea tour, but yes. So I decided,
sorry.
No, that's fine. I was like, I'm going to start my own consulting company. I have like no clients. So that's already an interesting story, when you want to go out on your own and be an entrepreneur. And, and it took a long time for me to really like establish myself. And, one of the first organizations I was working with was Harness, which is an organization that was founded by America Ferrera and Wilmer Valderrama, that was really looking to connect artists and activists and help move the needle. And it was like right in my wheelhouse. And I was like, this is what I want to be doing. I want to be, really helping the people that are doing the work. So the idea tour came first, like right after 2016. And then as things started to develop and get closer to the midterm elections, that's when I Am a Voter popped up. Okay. That's also, the summer of 2018 was really when the family separation crisis was kind of peak. And so that's when This Is About Humanity. And then She Said Puede has just been something that launched, I think 6 weeks ago or something insane. So, but that's just to say that over the time, working in politics and then, making certain shifts and adjustments and pivots really in my career, all has sort of led to this, kind of time that we're at right now, where everything that I've been working on for so many years is now at the center and sort of guiding, what my next steps are or how I approach different projects or things that I want to get involved in.
Right. Yeah. I know for us, because we are, we started with just talking about basketball, and then we spread it to sports, and then we spread it to women's in sports, and then we spread it to bigger cultural things. So it's just seeing growth like that within you or within the organizations or whatever podcast, whatever it is that you do, it feels so good to know that you have that growth in there. Otherwise it's what if you continue to do something and you're not really listening to what's happening around you? It's like being in a bubble. And I don't know if that's necessarily the best thing to do. Obviously, I think part of why we have the administration that we do is a lot of people in bubbles. So I love hearing how, that is interconnected, because I think that also helps. I think there are a lot of people that don't have that straight A to B path. It's all these curves and peaks and valleys that we navigate, which makes us, just more open-minded and more able to have empathy and look at what's happening and how we can use our platforms to speak on it and even hold a place, hold space. We always talk about holding space and what you want to hold space for and what you don't. One of the big initiatives that we've all been very just pounding is voting. And I know you're wearing a vote t-shirt. It's so awesome. And you are a founding member of I Am a Voter. My question is, the Latinx community is so huge. I know I was watching the Variety Represent special with John Leguizamo, and they were talking about how you can't to try to say okay, this is Latinx. It's so wide and varied. How are you in the voting initiatives that you're working on and how it pertains to the Latinx community? What are you finding? Are you finding can't be just one message, or that, are there pockets? I mean, I know this is a loaded question because there's so much, but what would you say are some key insights that you're finding as you're doing this work?
I mean, listen, I've been on the ground since 2008, talking to voters and doing outreach to the Latino community. And, what hasn't worked, I know what hasn't worked, is, showing up every 4 years, 20 to 30 days before the election, being oh my God, you're the most important group that ever lived. And if you show up, you'll save us. And if you don't, you let us down. And so, and not really doing any of the work in between in terms of developing that community, understand the issues that matter to them, which by the way, are the issues that matter to everyone, I mean, obviously, yes, we care about immigration, but that's not the only thing we care about. We care about healthcare. We care about affordable, college and all the things that everyone is interested in. And so, as I've been doing more and more work around the voting space with I Am a Voter specifically, trying to create that kind of aspirational identity about being a voter is cool, and it's something that you should be. And now with She Said Puede, which is really focused on the Latina community, is that we need to make an investment in ourselves and in our community for not just, the next 4 years, but the next 40, 50 years. Right. And we need to be present and a part of it so that we can understand and we can empower our community to feel, that they have everything they need to vote. And I think that's one of the things that just in the research that She Said Puede has been involved with X Labs, which is, it's not that people don't that Latinas don't understand that elections are important. It's almost that they understand how important it really is, and really feeling that weight of like, do I have everything I need, and am I prepared enough to be making some of the decisions about voting? And the answer is, of course, because all you need to know is what matters to you, and that's really, at the core of it all. And so, as the years have gone by, that's really where She Se Puede was born, which is we need to be making an investment in our community for all time, and not just for, what's happening on November 3rd, but beyond that. And so I think that you mentioned a couple things that I think should be highlighted, which is we're not a monolith. The Latinx community is, involves people who are new immigrants, naturalized citizens, undocumented individuals, people who have been here for many, many generations, people who speak Spanish, don't speak Spanish, are gender non-binary. It's a really big community. And so I think that that's like one important thing. You can't speak to all of us the same way, but we want what everybody wants, which is like health and happiness and our family to be safe and to be successful. And so I think that those are things that we can definitely, sort of understand just as human beings.
Right. And so you were saying that your mom is really, more of the traditional, because I think about my grandmother, she passed away a couple of years ago, and she was, for being as traditional as she was, I felt like she just had this acceptance, bone in her body. She was just like, well, mija, that's how they want to live, or that's what they want to do, kind of situation. We weren't super political, but, she was more of like, hey, you know what, live and let live, love is love, those types of messages. How is would you say like your mom being the generation that she is, are there things where you're like, okay, I think she's getting it and we're okay, we can put her on autopilot now? Or are there things where you're like, okay, we need to work on this? And how is she, the older generation, how do you see them working in the community when they're trying to shift some of these, traditional ideas or, kind of break some of these cycles that we see?
Yeah, I mean, the good news is I think my mom's a great example of someone who has evolved, going from a mother who's very traditional, who was like, you can't leave home, you should get married, you should do things a certain way, to really sort of embracing all the things that my life represents today, which is, having kids who are half Black and half Mexican. My brother-in-law's gay, we're a very diverse and dynamic extended family, and sort of her really, embracing that in a way that I'm sure if I were growing up, going back, I would be like, she could never. She'd never even seen a Black person before, her mid-20s. And so,
wow.
So I think for her, it really has been a journey, and she, lives with me and helps raise my kids. And listen, she really at this point just cares about like the kids going to like Zoom church. And Zoom church is very important to her, getting their first communion in. I think she's like, okay, everything's fine, but like, I need to have this. And I'm like, great, like, amen. I love it. As long as she's on top of that, that's great. Right. But, I think it's been somewhat probably easier because all these issues are just connected so intimately with my life and her, loving me and everybody that's a part of me.
Right.
But, I think there are still conversations to be had around, like what's the correct gender pronoun in Spanish?
Sure.
Someone does not identify as él or ella, and like,
right.
Reminding that that's something important to think about. Or, the other day she said that she had gotten this email from somebody about Black Lives Matter. And like, she was like, what should I answer? I was like, Mom, I read the email. I don't know if they're open to hearing things that, and so like, you don't need to, I think she's like, I need to be now standing up for but like also like not this one. So I think that it's an interesting, kind of journey to see her
Sure.
on.
she's more of the still the spiritual guidance.
For
She's
sure.
taking care of that. I would love for someone like your mom to write a book about her journey, because that's something to me that I don't think we hear enough of. Like my mom she was more of like the Gloria Steinem situation.
Mm-hmm.
And so we were always like raising a fist or doing, burning our bra or something like that. I was just a kid, so I'm like, okay, whatever. But she was working through that first wave of feminism, which was was exclusionary in a lot of ways to people of color. But she navigated it in an interesting way, I'll say that. So I would love to, it would be so great to hear more like I think for our community, because I'm Mexican American, how our elders are navigating these times could be so interesting, not just to, as we look, read it, but in their community, how are they kicking and screaming, some people maybe that, because I know traditions and religion play a big part in like how sometimes we stutter in what we do.
Well, she's like, it's funny because she just became a citizen this year, which is very exciting. And
cool. Congrats.
Thank you. So she voted in her first election in March in the primaries,
Wow.
and now she's voting in her first general election. And so, in times of COVID, she's on all these Zooms. She has like her rosary Zoom, her prayer Zoom, her like friends from Mexico Zoom. And every now and then I'll like walk by the room and I'll hear her, she's like out there like talking about social justice and like, oh my God, like she's that woman in her little, crew that's kind of like telling them what's up and like what they need to know. And so it's a very hilarious and yet very endearing and proud moment when I'm like, there she is, saying those things. So it's really good to see.
Yeah, that's great. It's also true because, I even find this to this day. It's like also being educated enough to feel like you can talk about something, that is super important. And that's why we try to like, what are all the resources that we can also give to people so that they can not, that you're going to mess up,
Sure.
that is definitely, and if you can own it and then just say, hey, I'll learn better. I know sometimes that can be a pediment to wanting to say anything, especially in today's culture. It's like, you're out.
Yes, that's hard.
It is hard. It's very hard. You also spoke a little bit about your husband. I know he was a former NBA player and he's also works for the Golden State Warriors. I believe he's a coach on that. Karen is a Golden State Warrior fan. I'm a Lakers fan, which we're like, after this interview, we're going to get into. Oh yeah, that's okay. I think that's okay. They're California, so you're all right. As far as the Warriors not getting into the bubble, because they sucked, and I'm just going to say that.
No, 2020 fucked this up. So that's
yeah.
A lot of injuries. I don't know that we were terrible more than we were.
All right, I'll give you guys that. But with that said, how relieved in a way were you that you weren't going to have to deal with a bubble? Or were you like, oh, that would have been nice. Absence makes the heart grow fonder situation. Where do you sit on that whole
Well,
thing?
I live in LA with the kids during the season. So for the past 6 years that he's been coaching, he's been away. And so that's something that we're used to. And that's part of the dynamic. But, I will say, like, having gone to the finals for the last 5 years,
Yes.
we're blessed. Yes, 2020 was unfortunate. We had a lot of injuries and when the season shut down because of the pandemic, you just weren't quite sure what was going to happen. So I don't know that I was like, oh man, bubble or no bubble, but you definitely always want to see the sports leagues and the games continue, if it's safe, not just because of, everyone who wants to keep on playing, but for the fans and just for like the world, I guess.
Right.
And so, if we would have made the bubble, that would have been amazing, because it would have meant that they were still competing and still in it. The fact that they didn't make the bubble, yeah, of course, he spent more time at home, and more time than he spent at home in a really long time, maybe.
Right.
But, they were actually just in San Francisco last month. They had decided to do like their own mini bubble. We called it Double Dub Nation Bubble.
Got it.
And so he was gone for like a month, because they had to go quarantine up in the Bay, get tested every day. And then they went into the hotel, and then you could only really be in your hotel room or at the facility being bused. And so, it was a very well-planned and contained scenario to make it safe for everybody. So they were glad, because they hadn't played basketball in like 9 months. Wow. So, for the team, and I think for everyone, we just want to find a way for the NBA to come back and to do it with fans, hopefully in a safe way. So we'll just have to see.
Yeah. Yeah. I think the NBA and the WNBA, they nailed how the protocols and how everything went. So it can be done, but the sacrifice.
I think it's hard to sustain over a whole season. There are a lot of games, and that's when there was a lot of, I think, restriction on movement and different things. And so, kudos to all the leagues, that were able to do it, women's and men's, both. But I think just from a perspective of just like how to move forward, I think we really need to figure out how we're going to move forward, like in all aspects of our lives, not just sports, so that we can get back to normal,
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Before we let you go, I would really like for you to tell us a little bit more about This Is About Humanity, because I know that this one, I was reading it, I went to the website, and it's an issue I think that we need to continue to spotlight, because, with so much that's happening, you go to bed one day, you wake up in a whole new world the next day just by, a tweet. So I'm wondering if you could tell us a little bit more about that, and what are some of the takeaways or the insights that you get from that maybe can help us, keep it top of mind, or, what are some works that we can do to help make sure that is continued to be looked at and resolved, hopefully.
Yeah. So as I mentioned, This Is About Humanity, which I co-founded with my sister, Yolanda Walter Mead, and my friend, Zoe Winkler Reines. Really, we started it in the summer of 2018 as the family separation crisis was coming to light, but we know that it had been happening, and we know that it still is happening in some way, shape, or form. Today we still have families who are in detention during a global pandemic. We still have expelled many unaccompanied minors without their parents, sometimes to a country that isn't even theirs. And there are so many people right now, because asylum really is not available to them, with the changes that have happened, that are in shelters at the border with no court date available to them. And really the best thing that immigration attorneys can tell them is, to wait and see what happens on November 3rd. There's just no movement. So it's very difficult to think about these families and think about these children, these parents, and not be like, oh my God, this is still happening and it still needs to be in the news every day. Because there's so many things that are happening.
Yeah.
Every day. It's almost like, oh my gosh, how do you keep track of like everything that could be happening? It's very difficult. And so what we're trying to do, currently at This Is About Humanity is to continue to support those families who are in these shelters in Tijuana at the border, with food and medical care and financial support. And then also working with the families who are here in the United States who may have been separated and then reunited, who often have family members who are working, essential workers or on the front line or working in the fields, and really working hard to keep this country going, to keep food on everyone's table, to keep, everything working, and supporting them through this pandemic, through our like adoptive families and help with distance learning. A lot of these families, distance learning is not really a possibility. They don't have the technology to do it. Maybe they don't have access to Wi-Fi or broadband. And so, for me, it's just continually trying to find ways to like be of service, to keep this conversation going, to keep it amplified, and to keep people feeling comfortable being able to talk about it. I mean, I think we live in a world where everyone feels like, well, if I'm not an expert, like I can't really, and I think that may be true for some things, but for other things, it's like, but is something right or wrong? And like, nobody really needs to be an expert to just sort of make that determination that we definitely should not be separating families or deporting people during a global pandemic, or detaining them. And so, it's really like a passion project, and just maintaining the level of knowledge up, and with our partners, we've partnered with the Little Market, and we sell like this amazing tote and this candle that goes to support these families. So just, finding ways that we can just continue to support them.
Yeah, that's so important. Support, using your platform, using your voice, continuing to do whatever that you can. It's so inspiring. You're a very inspiring person. You're extremely inspiring, like seeing everything that you've done, because you could do so many things with what you've been blessed with. And these are the things that you're focusing on, and it makes everybody more aware. You're extremely inspiring and a huge role model. And I think that, it's always going to be about paying it forward in a way, right? Like it's the next generation. I always say, like, we don't start at zero. There's already bricks that were laid by people prior to us. And you are a bricklayer. You are a change maker. And man, your kids are going to be another like roaring, generation force. So, I mean, gosh, you are so inspiring. I don't know what else to say. I mean, I feel like, do you ever nap? Like,
yeah.
I mean, listen, I've never been a good napper. And like, when, it's very common in the NBA on game days for players to like go in, shoot around, and then take a nap before the game. And I remember that used to be my husband's routine. And I was like, but how can you nap? Like, this is so crazy. And he'd be like a better napper than like when my kids were babies. I mean, like, he was like just the all-time best napper. I've never napped. I do sleep.
Okay.
But I'm on like a lot of different projects with people from the East Coast, the West Coast. So sometimes I feel like I'm getting emails as early as like 4 or 5 in the morning. And then people on the West Coast are working later. But, especially at this time, I've never been busier than I've been in this time frame. But I always say, like, you don't want to feel like there's something that you could have done, to make this world a better place, especially during an election year, where you want to make sure that everybody's voices are heard, that people are feeling empowered to vote like they should, that they understand how to do it, where to do it. I always say, like, I'll take a nap November 4th and for a day, and then you kind of keep on going, because like, if we get a change, November 3rd, like, there's going to be so many things that we're going to need to be doing to really, address like some of the issues that are going to require some attention. It's not like all of a sudden things are going to change immediately. We've done some serious harm to society, to this world, to this climate, to this environment, to families, to children, and so we are going to have to really be working hard to help guide how we go forward. And so, I don't know. I always say I'm always better when I'm busier. So that's really being put to the test right now. But, I just feel like if there's something that I can do, I should be doing it. And if there's someone that I know, I should be calling them. And if there's a way that I can be encouraging people to say yes between now and November 3rd. Like, I would encourage everyone to say yes. I would encourage everyone to look at what they have at their disposal. Your podcast, thank you so much for having me before the election, so I can encourage everyone, like, if you haven't gotten out to vote, to do it. If you're undecided and wondering if your vote really matters, it really does. And like, I've been telling people, like, sometimes you feel like, well, like, is my life going to change whether I vote or not? Like, I mean, I would argue yes, but let's pretend I'm going to say, well, maybe not. But your vote could be affecting someone else's life to such a degree that you have to think about, you know, voting for other people if voting for yourself isn't compelling enough. And so, you know, I'm encouraging everyone, if you're voting early or voting by mail, to make sure that happens before October 24th to give enough time for the ballot to get there. And if you're going to be voting in person, obviously wear a mask, take a snack and an umbrella, and be prepared. You know, we shouldn't be having lines to do it, but that's what's happening right now. And so, you know, but just know that it's worth it. Yeah.
Yeah. I love that. It's worth it. That's really, you're worth it. We're worth it. Everyone's worth it. It's worth it. I absolutely agree with you. Elsa, this has been, like I said, super inspiring. Thank you so much for taking time and your obviously busy schedule, doing a lot better work.
I'm hoping my makeup isn't going to fall off. I'm going to try to get a workout in before I have something at 1. And I'm just be like, just don't sweat. Just don't sweat, but like just not on my face.
Got it. That makes sense. Yeah. Dabs, little dabs. Yeah. Little dabs. Is there anything that before we let you go, is there any like websites we should send our viewers to? I mean, we'll have a bunch of links in our bio, but is there anything like right now they should be going to? This will be live on Wednesday. So I don't know if that helps.
I mean, here's some good things you can do. You can text voter to 26797 to get election reminders. That's the I am a voter text code. If you aren't registered and you're still in a state where you can register to vote, you can go to shesapuede.org. We have a voter resource hub there. If you want to know more about what's happening at This Is About Humanity, you can follow us on Instagram at This Is About Humanity. And yeah, I mean, I'm around, I'm available to, you know, discuss. Happy to come back anytime to talk about anything else, this too. But yeah, I mean, I think those are some of the things that I would recommend to people who I don't really know, or I didn't figure it out, or I'm not quite sure, you know.
Right. Excellent. Excellent. We love it. This podcast is open to you anytime to talk about anything. You are always welcome. It's open invitation. We loved having you. Thanks again for everything you do. Thanks for inspiring us. And we hope that, you know, I'm hoping after the election, we get to have you back and pop some champagne and after your nap.
Email me and we'll set up another time.
I love that. I love that. Thank you so much, Elsa. We really appreciate it.
You guys.
Thanks, Elsa.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
And we are back after that completely inspiring interview with Elsa Collins. I mean, yeah, she will definitely deserve that nap on November 4th with all the work that she's putting in. We'll have the links to her organizations in our show notes, but also, you know, she's on Instagram, or they're all on Instagram. We follow all of the organizations, so you can see that through there. She Puede was, like she said, just a few weeks old. So it's very like empowering to see that. And I'm really into it. I'm digging it. I just signed up for one of their events that they're happening like a virtual event. So that's some good stuff there. So we are shifting into, of course, sports in the age of coronavirus. And I would like to start by talking about the Lakers 2020 NBA championship. That's right, babies. They won it. Let me tell you, seriously, claps.
Yes.
I'll give you
Yes.
some snaps.
I watched Game 6 in the car streaming from my cell phone because we were driving up from the desert, because as our podcast unfolds, you'll more or less start hearing about my life in the desert and in escrow hell and all the things that I'm doing, because it's part of me and I'm part of this podcast. So that's happening.
Growth in life.
Right? But we won the championship. I could see the fireworks going off as I was coming into Los Angeles from like random neighborhoods. Of course, they decided to have a super spreader event near the Staples. All the fans. I didn't go. I did see masks, and there were people that were like honking horns. So it is what it is. But I'm super excited. I think, the MVP went to LeBron, which I thought was interesting because, I figured maybe AD, he was really working it. But I don't know about you guys, but do you feel like the Heat, like, I don't know, I just feel like they just were like,
they weren't ready.
I kind of feel like they gave up. I don't know.
Weird.
Well, Kendall called it pre-COVID, right? They were like climbing. It was like, what's going on here? I just don't think they were expecting to get as far as they did.
Okay.
And they weren't ready.
And then people came back, and then it was like they were like all off, and
Yeah.
I don't know. It just wasn't like as an exciting finals as I was hoping for. I mean, I get you're excited because they won and all that.
Yes.
But like to watch it, yeah, there were a few games where you're like, oh wow, yeah, this is going down to the wire. But then I was just like, I don't know. I feel like it happened and then it just like ended.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
I don't know. It's been kind of weird post.
I feel like that was also like the WNBA. Like kind of just like ended, and now we're just like, okay, that happened.
Right. Like, okay, are we like I feel like not even the ESPN was talking about any of it. It was like, all right, well, here's the post-game interview with LeBron.
Yeah.
And then the next day was like business as usual. Let's talk about baseball. Like,
yeah.
I don't know.
It's like people are just like, okay, that's done. Now I have to like talk about whatever else is still happening because I don't know. It's like escapism or something. It is weird not having a basketball game on.
Yeah.
But in the end, I was really, really happy that they won. I know that Anthony Davis has decided to re-sign with the Lakers, so he'll still be there. I don't know what. I mean, there was a lot of interesting supporting players that I think cemented the, reason why they should be there. And there were some that maybe like should have been part of the Pelican trade. Just saying.
I think we all know who you're talking about.
Yeah. I mean, when you are given an opportunity that other people didn't have, and then to me don't perform to that expectation, I find it to be a little glaring. I think Kuzma was a little bit glaring in these playoffs, in these finals. It was glaring that, I'm happy for him and he got the ring. And he made a couple of shots that were like, okay, but when you see someone like Alex Caruso, KCP, and I mean, without Rondo, I don't know what they would do if he didn't come back, because he was just essential.
Playoff Rondo.
He was essential. I mean, when you get a veteran guy like that can really direct the traffic and the floor when the bigs are, sitting down to rest. Dwight Howard, another veteran, I think he came up and he was like, I know. And I think one of the main things too is also knowing your role. Mm-hmm. Knowing your role. Because if you know what your role is, I mean, you guys know this from work, right? Yep. If you know what your role is and you have the goal is whatever it is in your role and you do that, then you're like, okay, that I do that to the best. And maybe it's, you started seeing Kuzma passing a little bit, later in the playoffs, because normally he would just try to shoot everything. And you're just like, okay, you got to pass.
Yep.
Yeah. But then also it wasn't just like normal passes. It's like, I'm going to spin into a 360 in the air, somersault, and then throw it behind my head. Like,
no, boo. No,
he doesn't know his range yet.
Like,
Yeah.
this isn't a
You
nerf
know?
with your buddies in the house, man. This is the real deal.
Yeah, you earn superstardom. You don't just just because you made the the WNBA, Kuzma, the NBA.
He wishes. Yeah, no, I think that it's not about his character. He seems like I love his mom, on social. It's just really like it was one of those spotlights on people that were just not gonna perform, that were missing they just missed it. So we gave KCP a lot of shit all of the time. And we let Kuzma kind of slide. And then it was at the end, who was the one coming up big, and I think that's something that maybe taken into consideration as they decide how they're going to continue. I mean, we're thinking back to backs. That's all I want.
I say,
it's not about what you did. It's about what you're going to do, and you're going to do back to back. My opinion. As a Laker fan, we're the worst. At least I can take that as a badge. So yeah, I'm super excited. I watched I watched all the highlights. I watched hours and hours and hours of highlights. I listened to every sports show just so that I can hear them talk about the win.
I love it.
My husband was like, I wish I could put earmuffs all day long walking around that apartment. So yeah, I really soaked in because honestly, there was no celebrations, you know what I mean? So there wasn't really anything outside. So I'm just I just need to soak all of this in. And for me, it was similar because when they won, when I was living in New York, I mean, you think they cared in New York? No, absolutely not. So I was the only one on the street going, yeah. I actually got kicked out of a bar that night because we don't care. We honestly don't care. Yeah, we honestly don't care. So yeah. So congratulations to my Lakers. We believed, we knew it, and we're glad to have you home. And let's start thinking about next season. I don't care. Season don't stop. Let's do it again. Next is the Clippers have news. They signed Ty Lue. So Ty Lue is now the head coach of the Clippers because why not?
Am I the only one who's LeBron coached the Cavs during that time?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, so why? Then I'm why did you get rid of Doc Rivers?
That's what I'm saying is you got rid of Doc Rivers and there's nobody out there and you had to go out and get Ty Lue.
Well, maybe that's what they need. They need a coach that's going to let these big egos do what they want to do. I
can't see Kawhi taking that same lead as LeBron did with the Cavs.
Yeah, exactly. I'm with you.
And I can't see Paul George doing it either. It's I don't know. This is what I don't understand. These teams just keep dipping into the same coaching buckets.
Yes.
Why are you getting rid of guys who maybe they didn't get as far as you hoped for them? Only one person can win the freaking finals. If we're going by this standard, then even Spoelstra should be fired. He didn't get the championship, right?
Right.
So, which is just crazy to me, especially in these weird times that they were playing in. And the fact that there's nothing, either you're not willing to go and look for other coaching talent or it's not out there. I don't know. Maybe there's some guy in the G League that could do well in the NBA. I have no idea, right? I'm not in that bubble.
Right.
Yeah.
Why are we keep going after the same guys?
I don't know.
I agree with you. Also because, Karen, I think you bring up an excellent point. Was okay, so then why even fire Doc if you're going to just pick the guy that sat next to him on the bench all season?
Right.
Why? You're not going outside of the pool. You just might as well just have kept Doc. He didn't do that bad. I mean, to your point, Kendall, there's only one team that can win.
Yeah.
There's only one team. And I'm wondering how, because Kawhi went there, and I'm assuming, part of the reason was because Doc was the coach, right? How does that dynamic work? Paul George went there because Kawhi went there because he said, if you take me, I have to take Paul George. It's like, there's this I just don't like, it wasn't settled. I feel there was a lot of things that were unsettled with the Clippers even before going into this season. I think there's a lot of hype around it, and they weren't able really to gel. And then they had, issues in the bubble with the pressures that came with that. The load management thing, I think, also was something that hurt them with this. Which, if it was a regular season, regular times, maybe that would not have been a factor. But it was a factor coming into, and it's almost like they decided we're not going to change what we're doing. We're going to continue what we're doing, and it's just now in the bubble, as opposed to like other teams that we saw excel saying, no, you know what? Different times. You saw that with the Suns. You saw that with the Memphis. You saw that with just like all these teams that were counted out. You saw what happened to the Milwaukee Bucks. Yeah. So teams that were just like, okay, we're going to just stay this course and not understand that this is we have to like be in a different space. You'll see what happens. Something that Snoop Dogg said, he said the Clippers are choke artists, and I don't want to parse negativity, but I have also always said they can never get out of this. They could never get out of the second round.
They're in their own way.
Yeah. Yes. Oh my God. That's so insightful. So smart. They are. And I don't think getting rid of Doc Rivers and putting in Ty Lue is going to do anything to fix that. It would have been awesome if they got Becky Hammon in there. Imagine that.
Yep. Or literally anyone else.
Literally
else a shot to prove
anyone else.
Anyone else.
He's proven himself time and time again that like he can't do it. And yet I don't know. It's just wild to me.
Yeah, it is pretty wild. And well, I see them going, far because they have talent, but I just don't know if they're going to be like ready, because this is going to be also a different season, right? We're going to still have this weird season because now it's going to start in January.
Oh my God,
is it going to be bubble? Yeah. Is it not going to be bubble? There's like, what's going to happen? And then you have like on the WNBA side where you have women that are athletes that are going and playing overseas still.
Yep.
So what is all that about? So we're still in a pandemic, people.
Mm-hmm. Right.
There's still COVID. They're still spreading COVID, and we are surging again. So we don't have a normality for a really long time. Therefore, it's like, how is that going to play into everything that we move forward to? As we're seeing, the NFL is just like, nah.
There was no Thursday night football. Nah. Crazy.
NFL was just like, nah. We decided we're just going to, nah.
And
it's crazy.
On top of it, we're going to put all of the closely infected people onto a plane and then fly them across country.
Yeah.
Like in a game. Very smart. It's all just super smart.
Yeah. We're still in a pandemic. I just want to say that. Wear a mask, wash your face, wash your hands, wash your ass. Mm-hmm. We're still in a pandemic. Don't forget that. Yeah. So there was disrespect for Carmelo Anthony, which I agree. The hell?
It's fucked up.
The Denver Nuggets put out a post that asked, who is the greatest Denver Nugget? And their mock-up did not have Carmelo Anthony in it. Now, we actually dedicated an entire episode, I think in season 1, to Carmelo Anthony because we had such huge Melo fans that were like, you guys don't talk enough about Carmelo Anthony. We're like, fine. We'll do an entire episode about Carmelo Anthony. I think that he's probably one of the most disrespected players in the NBA.
Yep.
And I'm not sure why. Like, I don't really know why. He puts up numbers. It's not his fault. Like, the teams don't get built. I mean, he did what he did in Portland. Like, I'm hoping that Portland, your team, Kendall, will really like put the stake in the ground and make Melo like give him his roses and a statue or something. I mean, besides Dame, and of course, but like, fuck. How do you forget Carmelo Anthony on your team?
When you got rid of him, it's not like you.
Yeah.
I wonder if it was some young.
No, if you're young, then you would know. I mean, okay.
There's some of those guys on there where I'm like, what?
Yeah, how is that?
Even the former coach came out, Coach Carl, and was like,
The fuck?
I'm tweeting right now that Carmelo was an excellent Nugget player, and there's no debate. And it's just like, I don't know. I don't know what he's done. I mean, it's not even like he's like the most outspoken, or even if he was, like,
There's been worse. So that's why it's like, I get it, but also why so much of it, right? Like, why so much hate or disregard or dismissiveness with him?
I agree with you. I mean, it says, he was a 4-time All NBA player and a 3-time All-Star as a Nugget. Okay. And in 2009, he led the Nuggets to the Western Conference Finals, where they eventually lost to the Lakers. But the fuck? Okay, so you have, I mean, I'm looking at this graphic now. There's Chauncey. There's what's his name? Joker.
Fucking Chauncey.
I don't know who this guy is. This guy kind of looks familiar, and I don't know who this guy is. So that's me.
It's like, yeah, Melo to me is more infamous than the Nuggets team itself historically. So
I don't get it. Maybe the person was mile high when he put this graphic together.
real high.
You saw Portland roasted them, right?
Yeah, they made a graphic and they put him in it as who's your favorite Blazer of all time. Good for Portland.
Good for Portland.
Yeah, stand up for him. Poor guy.
Well, he came out after the season and said that he wants to finish his career in Portland.
Aw, that's good.
And that he had a really good feeling that this was where it was supposed to end. And, he got along with everybody from coaches to the guys on the team, and that he felt really comfortable there. So I'm all on board for them re-signing him.
I like it. I think everybody is. Like, I talked to Marcy, who is your counterpart in Portland, the real Portland Trailblazer fan up there. And she was just like, we love Melo. Like, he's great.
Yeah.
And I think it would be a great fit for him to end there. But fuck, like, man, that's some shade. I don't know what's happening there. On the Houston Rockets, Daryl Morey, who I believe is the GM or some shit, he's like stepping down. That has to be one of the worst run organizations. So they had Melo.
Yep.
And they basically went to his hotel room and was like, oh, just kidding. You're not on the team anymore. He's like, what? We just had a conversation. Y'all were like, we're cool. This is good. And then it's just like, nope, just kidding. So you got that. Also, I think Chris Paul was on there. And he then got traded to OKC. They got Russ. And now they're thinking about getting rid of Russ. And D'Antoni left, irreconcilable differences.
Yep.
I don't know what they're going to do. I don't know. Harden makes like 100 points a game. So I don't know how they're not losing or how they're,
Because 100 shots, but I don't know about points.
Well, I mean, I'm being, yes, because how many, like, I just don't get it.
How many games were, I don't regularly watch the Rockets because, like I just said, it's extremely boring basketball to me. But, like, how many games did they actually have where Harden and Russ both went off?
Right.
None.
I feel like it was one or the other.
Right.
Yeah. But OKC was the foundation of Russ, Harden, that whole collaboration there. And you would think they're veterans, they're tenured now, they may not have as good a parking in Houston as they do in Oklahoma City for their fans, but still put them together. Hopefully there's a little salt and pepper action going. And no, like it was, and Russ, I think, was not even, he was not in the bubble in the beginning. Like he came on later, injury. I'm not quite sure what the explanation was there. So, that bubble, like it either gave you the magic or it just drained you of it.
Yep.
Oh my goodness.
Well, that's all right. Whatever. As long as if we don't have to see the Rockets in the playoffs anymore, I'm perfectly fine with that because
I'm fine with that.
News Central.
Yeah, I want to see the Suns back in there.
Heck yeah.
Yes.
They were amazing. As much as I'm not, I mean, the Nuggets did what the Nuggets did, but seeing, was it Jamal Murray and Joker in there? And
Joker.
I mean, they're great. I'm excited. I'm excited for these teams. Let's see. And the New Orleans Pelicans, when they come back, because they're going to have a healthy Zion,
Sheesh.
that's going to
Nuts.
They let their coach play.
I know. It wasn't even his fault. Poor Alvin. And they're just like, bye.
Yeah.
Bye.
They're like, oh yeah, your superstar got injured. Bye.
Yeah. Thanks for almost making it to playoffs without a superstar, but you have to go.
Yeah. Bye.
Okay.
Sorry. So yeah, so we'll see. It's going to be very interesting. And like I said, it's not going to be like a regular season. So I don't know what to tell you. And then there's trade rumors, hoops bomb, trade rumors about Chris Paul being traded by OKC. They want to open it up for a young core, get some picks in. And the rumors were started by the Lakers nation about him coming to Los Angeles. But I mean, he was already a Clipper. I don't know what to tell you. We do need a real PG because like Rondo was not like a starter, but I don't know. I don't think we can afford him. I think it's like super, super expensive.
Ship Kuzma off to OKC.
We wouldn't even get a bag of balls for him from OKC.
Bag of balls.
Sorry to say. Yeah, we wouldn't even be able to get a bag of balls for him. Yeah, so I mean that's kind of, it's just like I said, we were saying, it's just weird that we don't have an NBA game or a WNBA game on. So we're going to be talking a lot about rumors, and we're going to talk a lot about trades, and I'm sure, I mean, Woj still got to do something for his job, so we'll be hearing some craziness coming up, I'm sure.
He's gonna drop, what did Shams drop the other day that was like political?
Oh, that the president had COVID?
Yeah. Woj is just going to turn into a political correspondent.
He's going to be all live from the polls at the Staples Center.
Right. They need to do a play-by-play of all the players voting. LeBron just dropped his ballot.
By the way, LeBron's daughter, Suri, was killing me.
With her scary house?
No, she has a house. She has a mini house that looks just like their big house. Mm-hmm. And LeBron's like, look at this girl. She's over here in her own house. And he's like, oh, are you taking a break from school? She's like, yeah, I'm on a break right now. And she's like, can I come in? And like, he sits in her house and she starts wiping where he stepped. He's like, oh, my bad. I dirty your house. I mean, what? That was so cool. She's so cool. I loved it. I loved seeing it. Ugh. Seeing those little queens. I love it. And I love that LeBron celebrates it, Yes. He's like, look at this girl. I love it.
Yesterday or a couple days ago.
Yeah. When he got back.
Yep.
I think it was like her birthday. It's like a birthday gift too. It was good. And he brought home a championship, just saying. So that's good.
The gift.
Yeah.
The gift to LA.
She should have a little mini trophy to put in her house, the little house.
She should.
Something, Kendall, maybe you could talk a little more on this. The Women's Sports Foundation off of Yahoo Sports. I watched it. I was like, this is awesome. It had different people. Who was the host again? I forget.
Ali.
Yes, she was the host because I think it was La China last time. But tell us a little bit about it because I know you probably work behind the scenes as you always do on these cool things.
Yeah, it was about a month and a half in the making. And we had a bunch of different athletes that signed on to talk about equality in sport, gender equality, disabilities, LGBTQ, all of that kind of stuff in sports. And then we handed out a couple of awards to people. The Wilma Rudolph Courage Award was given to the entire WNBA league.
Oh, cool.
And Laisha Clarendon accepted on behalf of the league. And our good friend and cutie, Pepper Pursley, did the interview and handed out the award, which
Love it.
Adorable. And I think probably the best part of the entire show.
Probably. Yeah, agreed.
She wore her WNBA hoodie.
Yes.
But yeah, so, and then, like Bruce Arians of the Bucks, he was given an award for his work in, hiring women to be coaches and, just equality in the workplace.
Yeah.
It was really cool. It was fun.
I really enjoyed the segment about the original 9.
With
They talked. Yeah, Natalie Portman did the narration, and they talked about how Billie Jean King and other tennis players, with the pay discrepancy of the purse, how they each held up like a dollar bill to represent like their lack of equality in pay, and kind of really sparked more of that movement. And they also talked about Serena Williams in the beginning. It was really great. There was a lot of cool information that I enjoyed it last time, and it looked great. And it was so awesome to see Pepper Pursley also doing that. She's so awesome. Like,
it's great.
It was really great. So congratulations on that. Another annual event.
An annual event that was done virtually.
Look at that.
So,
put that on your resume.
Resume.
Yeah, it was cool though.
Resume. You got a lot on your resume.
Got a lot on the resume.
Got a lot on the resume.
Now you can nap.
Yeah,
Today.
I know. Actually, I think after November 3rd, we can all nap.
Okay.
I don't think we can nap until January, until Biden is up there accepting and being sworn in. I don't trust this person that's in office right now.
No, I feel this person that's in the office right now is like suckers and has a jetpack and gonna like fly out and go to Russia. He's
dropping his little nuggets about how he's like, oh, if I lose, I'm going to have to leave the country, aren't I? And he's like joking, but it's like, no,
he is. Yeah.
Right. You're not going to have
a criminal.
You
probably should.
You have to is because you're going to go and try and find asylum.
Yes.
Yeah. Otherwise, you're going to be wearing clothing that matches your skin color. Okay.
Yeah. Yes.
So,
yes.
Honestly, I'm really hoping that when they drag him out of the White House, that he's just already in the handcuffs and they just take him directly to where he has to go.
Beautiful.
I honestly think we need to manifest that. You said it out loud, and we just have to keep manifesting.
We'll visualize it every day.
Every day.
Chance to hop on an airplane and get out of
No, because he's a criminal. He's a war criminal. He knew about a deadly disease and he did nothing. His taxes, obviously. His sexual assault. And honestly, they don't even, the funny thing is they won't even, like, all the human rights violations that he's committed, at the end of the day, all they're going to really care about is the taxes.
Yeah.
Because you don't fucks with the tax. Willie Nelson knows this. Wesley Snipes knows this. Yeah. You got to pay your taxes. And Al Capone knows this. It's like, that's how they all, all those gangsters and the, Martin Scorsese movies, always something about the tax evasion. Yeah. So that's what's going to get him in jail, of course, of his choice, the resort jail of his choice.
Oh, God, no. I hope they send him a freaking, I don't even know,
a hole in the ground.
Conditioner or heat. In a tiny, like, his window is like this big where one eyeball can fit through.
Like McDonald's is just out of reach. He can smell it, and he's like one nugget away from getting that
KFC bucket of
yes.
away.
Oh,
Flushing
so-
the toilets, echoing in his.
yes. Like
That's what I
just
want,
keep
man.
flushing toilets all constantly, wasting all that water.
I hope he's in a cell next to a guy who has severe IBS too. And
Yes. And I hope, like, you know how they have him go out and do yard work? Like, he has to, like, clean tree trunks, like the forest. He has to go out and clean all
he's gonna rake the forest floor.
Yeah, he has to rake the forest floor. Like, that's what he has to do when he goes out on his, like, work furlough shit. We got it planned. You come to us. We will give you the dump.
Punishment plan. The dump.
Punishment plan. You know how Kendall did voting playbook? We have the punishment playbook for this
Oh God.
person in the, for sure. Absolutely. And like, I could think of tons more, but I think it's a good start.
Forever.
Oh yeah. I think that's a pretty good start on how we can, we want him alive so we can do all of these things.
Oh yeah. We just want all of the tree trunks to be clean.
Yes. And all of the floors to be raked.
Yeah.
Absolutely. That's it.
I mean, that's all he's asking of California to do, right? Like, well, he wouldn't have all of these wildfires if they would stop, taking the water from the tiny fish and and raking the forest floors.
Absolutely.
What is he talking about?
Absolutely.
And they need to force feed him like dementia medicine or I don't know what, but
his herd mentality. Oh, moron.
The wildebeest.
Oh, I'm still thinking about that woman who was like on national TV during the town hall saying like when he smiles, he's so handsome. We were talking about this earlier. It's
like attractive. What's your type, man? I like guys who look like a jug full of ham.
My love language is honey baked ham. And my type
out the stench of fried chicken and
she's like, my favorite color is orange on a man.
With just a great smile. Her family must be so embarrassed.
Yeah.
I would be like, no, she's not invited to anything else. I mean, it's one thing to say it. I mean, I don't know. Just no. She's uninvited. Her and her, potato salad with raisins in it cannot come to this cookout. No more. Getting back to sports, Karen, you have some WNBA updates. Tell us.
I'm your money lady. I'm your money mom.
Yes, that's right. Oh, by the way, as you're talking about money, how did you fare with the voting against the Lakers or go betting?
You already know that. You already know that answer.
Okay, I just want to make sure.
Money lost, but does not mean it will be gained.
Money lost, but friendships still remain.
But if I'd won, I would have gotten you some nice Lakers championship gear. You know what I mean? Just to make it square.
Maybe you still need to do that.
I'm just gonna buy you purple and gold streamers to decorate your house.
Just saying.
The ones from Party City, you gotta twist it yourself.
Some cute stuff on Breaking Tea. Just saying. Sorry, back to our money lady.
I mean, let's talk business, lady.
Let's talk business. WNBA, what's the business? Tell us the business.
Yeah, so Glacier, a very, if you're young, you're old or too young. Glacier is one of the first online specific brands, all makeup. A lot of these women who founded Glacier came from beauty, magazines, media industry. And we're like, we need to make stuff for women and use social listening to understand what women want. And then, of course, the first beauty brand to partner with the WNBA. So finally, we've been talking about this episode on episode about there are so many companies who target to women. Yes. We are the pocket holders, money makers. And yet, why are there not enough partnerships for the WNBA? Period.
Agreed.
So that's great news. I'm kind of bummed it's postseason.
True. Well, it keeps the narrative going at least after the season.
Yeah, but let's all follow Vivica Fox's footsteps as she
Heck yeah.
partners with the Sparks. Let's make her WNBA
Agreed.
wide.
Mm-hmm.
Let's get some great hair going on the court, you know, because that's a tough thing. We've all played. It's just like, what do you do with the hair? Ponytails?
It's true. It's true.
Damage.
You got the buns, a lot of bun action. Yeah, a lot of bun action.
Buns. And then, I mean, do we want to keep talking money?
Yes, always. What's talk to us about money?
I mean, we hooped off on this last week. We've talked about it in the past. Just the money disparity between what the WNBA makes and what the NBA makes. And we have all our trolls arguing, well, if they played better or whatever, you know, like sit on your ass and go hug Trump, because I know who your buddy is. But there was a graphic we all saw on socials recently, and it, you know, side to side, Sue Bird, LeBron, right?
Yep.
17-year career, 2020 championships. Bonus for being the finals win, 11,000 for Sue Bird and 370K for LeBron. And then let's just look at their salaries. 215K a year, Sue Bird, 37.44 million LeBron. I mean, wow.
Like,
and yeah, I mean, I love LeBron, but come on, Sue Bird wins for looks at just turning 40. Okay, like
that is true. Happy birthday to her.
Yes,
she's looking good.
She looks
from some serious injuries too.
Yeah, you're right.
You're right.
Well, you know, Karen, to your point too. That's the discrepancy in the salary and the bonus. It doesn't match with, like, if you look at their careers from a parallel standpoint, they both won 4 championships. Sue's won 4 Olympic gold medals, and I believe LeBron's won 2, you know, so they're on pair, like, and they would say that themselves, like they each other respect each other and would say that. It's really, I mean, what more? How much more? What more do you need to see? It's right there, plain and simple.
Yep.
And I mean, good for the United States women's soccer for doing what they're doing, because they're setting precedent. As our past guest, Kelsey Trainer, talked a lot about, was like, you know, it's about how do you set up precedent so that then you can continue what, you know, is the main part of the argument, which, you know, is the most important thing.
And you just talked about earlier, right? Women's tennis, they fought for equal pay. And then now this year, what's his face trying to create his own player organization for men and then changing that. Like, yes. We can't even, once women actually get the equality, then someone comes in to fight to take it away again. There's no rest. There's no nap time.
There's no nap time. There's no nap time. No, seriously, because like you just, like, you can't, I don't understand. People really see others succeeding as something being taken away from them, which is not the case. Like, I don't understand. Like, it's so small. It's like so small-minded. It's so like simple-minded to do something as shitty as that. So it's like, oh, you know, I don't know. We could go on and on with examples, but it's just like this one. We could go on with hypotheticals. We could go on like what's right, what's wrong, you know, all this stuff. But we're looking at figures right here. Figures. They don't lie. These are facts. And this is what's happening. And if you think Sue Bird is getting short shrifted, just imagine all the other players on the WNBA.
Yeah.
The black women on there.
Yeah. Asia MVP making like $58K a year.
Yep.
Ouch.
Oh my God.
And that they still have to work hard to get paid and play.
Yeah. And
during
then
the pandemic.
Yeah, during a pandemic. And then they go overseas.
Yeah. Must be nice to just leave the bubble and go home to your families. Well, I have to leave the bubble and hop on a plane to go to Italy.
So true.
You know, like,
so true. So true. Well, at least it looks like, okay, there's more visibility in this, and these conversations are happening, so they cannot not be addressed. And you now have one of the first beauty companies, because like that seemed like it took this long to think about that.
I swear,
I mean, Jesus.
whoever runs that league just hopped on Twitter for 5 seconds, the ideas would just be swirling.
We already did the job for them. Just go
Yeah.
execute.
It's not this hard, literally. Like, sign on to Twitter an hour a day and just read what your fans are saying, and take what they're saying and apply it towards your league. It's not hard.
It's crowdsourced right there for you.
Right, exactly. You're not. It's free.
Yeah. We're seeing these WNBA, writers. A lot of them are freelance, contractors, and they're creating podcasts, platforms, collaborations, and it's just like nothing is actually sponsored by the WNBA.
UGC, right there.
Right there. You got it. I mean, Ari Chambers
isn't even something that you need to hop on Twitter and read. The obvious thing that you should have for your fans is merch.
And Ari Chambers is doing this awesome thing with Women Foot Locker, where she was talking to players. She just had Amanda Zowie B on there, which was hilarious. That was so funny. I loved watching that one. But it's like, it's being done. So to fucking create a report on the WNBA hashtag.
Yeah. Stop
just click on it on Twitter. You don't have to do a report. Just literally, like you said, go on Twitter, click on the WNBA hashtag, and you'll have
print it out.
I mean, it's endless.
Spend your lunch break just cruising through it, and you'll walk away with 20 different ideas on how.
Yeah. Stop hiring a group of white men, old white men, and just hire all these other people, amazing people with diverse voices and viewpoints, and you'll even save money. And then make money.
Right.
Well,
money mama out.
Our money mama has spoken. Before we go on to our last segment, we're going to talk about just quickly the Women's National Basketball Players Association tweeted out that there were 12 WNBA coaches in 2020. And 4 of them were women and none of them were women of color. So there's another disparity that we're seeing. We've always said this. I mean, we see, like, to your point, Kendall, they just keep going back to the well in the NBA. I even heard the Van Gundys, and Jeff is retired. It's like, they're just like, oh, hey, let's just, if we don't have enough that are not retired, we'll just go and like get Jeff Van Gundy out of retirement. Like, they don't care at this point. They don't care. And I think, like, I just saw some Gary Payton or someone was also like, I'm ready to coach now. And it's
no, Gary.
Okay, that's cool. But there's like all these other people, and some of them happen to be women that could probably be more deserved of this. So I don't know how that's going to change or when, but I think it's good to continue having that conversation about, like, hire more women head coaches
and people of
period
color.
And people of color period. So that's it. That's not a hoops off. That's just a fact.
Facts.
But we're going to go ahead and wrap this up. And then when we come back, we will have our hoops off. So be right back. And we are back with our final segment, the hoops off, where we get a minute to go off about something, anything, whatever. There's nothing really rhyme or reason. It's just something that's been on our mind. I'm going first today. Woo woo. And what I want to talk about, Karen, let me know. When can I go?
3, 2.
So I want to talk a little bit about these small business thought pieces that I keep reading. I mean, in the Los Angeles Times, I just read one this morning, and I 1000% understand that small businesses, and I'm looking at you bookstores in particular, because I live in bookstores. I will go and buy books and books and books and all your tchotchkes and all your bookmarks and everything when I walk into a bookstore, even if I don't need it. I'll even buy a book that I already bought because I just love bookstores. But here's the thing. I don't know how you didn't know prior to pandemic that shit needed to be online, or that you needed to evolve your business to the pandemic that is Amazon, or the pandemic that is like other shops that decided to go online. and you were just like, nah, I'm just gonna wait for like, I don't know when. Like, get an Instagram, tweet it out. Like, there was so many free things. You don't want to make a website? Just go to a Tumblr was available even back in the day. You could have just like put eBay, Etsy. You needed to evolve, and you didn't. That's all I'm saying. Like, I can't.
Yep.
I know my minute's up, but like, come on.
I mean, there's curbside pickup. You could have kept people working.
Yeah.
You didn't have to go online technically, have them give you a call, be like, yeah, we got this.
I mean, I love the bookstores and I don't want them to go away. Trust me. But I'm just like, the fuck? Like, also, what are you doing for the communities? They need to pay rent.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, I love libraries. Even the libraries have a
They have
sophisticated.
curbside pickup.
They have an interconnected website. Okay. So I can find a book anywhere in Los Angeles, find out which library it's at, and go and pick it up. And that's a fucking library. So I'm just saying.
I mean, it's like more money for you. Like,
Yeah.
you reach people that aren't necessarily in the neighborhood that your storefront is in.
Yeah.
It's just wild.
It's just insane to me. I'm sorry. Like, there are certain things like a haircut or nails, shit that you have to have a place where you could do those procedures. But to buy a fucking book, I could do that on the sidewalks. When I was in New York, they have tables set up and they have paperbacks, and I could go and like pick up a paperback for like 50 cents. So, and they would go right in front of a Barnes and Noble with their book table.
Nope.
You need to go where the people are. We all are online.
Online.
I ain't risking COVID.
Each other.
Sorry, that was mine. Okay, Kendall, you are next. Are you ready? I'm gonna get my alarm. Okay, if you are ready,
Okay.
3, 2, 1, go.
So I'm staying in the very red state of Utah currently. I've been here a couple months. There are way too many Trump pin signs and way too many back the blue signs for my liking around this part of the country. But the other night when we had the town halls and Trump decided last second that he was going to do his town hall at the exact same time as Joe Biden, I obviously was not going to be watching NBC. I was going to be watching ABC to watch the Biden one because that was not getting my ratings. And I went to ABC at the time that it was supposed to start. And instead of them showing Biden's town hall, they had some debate between two hokey ass people in Salt Lake City while Trump's was live on NBC. And I thought that was kind of fitting for being in such a red state that, of course, they're going to push the red candidates' town hall onto their people earlier in the night rather than the blue candidates, who's clearly coming on after all of these weird-ass people in the state go to sleep. And it pissed me off because they need to see both sides, and this state is clearly pushing one side onto its viewers.
I agree with you on that. There's so much shit. Like, we just saw that Mark Zuckerberg was doing that shit on Facebook to stop a certain left-sided newspaper from getting on the news tab, and while he's like sipping drinks with Ben Shapiro and all those dicks. So that's just happening.
It is. And this state is very... It's obviously, there's one religion that takes over this state. Everyone knows that. And just from doing a little bit of research, it seems like within that religion, they kind of tell you who you're going to vote for. And it is always the redder of the candidates than the bluer of the candidates. And I feel like that is definitely one reason why they're like, Joe Biden stuff, like, whatever. You don't need to show it.
I don't even know why NBC even decided to.
Yeah, that was a whole other issue.
That's like, what?
Yeah, that's the whole thing.
What does the Republican Party have on you, NBC?
Yeah.
Right.
Well, at least Savannah Guthrie, like, kind of.
Oh, she was awesome.
She was awesome. And then obviously the TikTok youths were like, I'm going to stream Biden shit every possible device to give him the ratings.
Yeah.
And then I saw that Biden's ratings were higher than Trump's. So
no one wants to hear that. No one wants to hear that gas bag.
No.
It's like, no.
He's defending himself the whole time while Biden's actually like, here are my policies.
Yeah, talking. Yeah, exactly.
He's like, why do you guys keep asking me to denounce white supremacy? Come on, let's get over it.
Hello, I'm handsome. You remember that lady, that lady telling me my smile?
Gross. And his son has COVID now.
Poor guy. He probably had it the whole time and they weren't trying to freak people out.
Yeah, I don't know. That first lady is like ghosted too. She just went into the bushes.
And then wrote her official statement too, that like
I don't know.
That marriage
you know
is
what?
not happening.
She said, fuck them kids. And she was out. She was all, fuck them kids. We out. Yeah. So, all right. Karen, bring us home. Bring us home. All right. Are you ready?
Yes.
Okay. 3, 2, 1, go.
Speaking of fucking gas bags that no one asked your opinion, there's some dumbass troll that came onto Lexi Brown's, tweet just to announce the Glossier partnership. And he came for Asia Wilson and Erica Hamby, saying that, when the women act like clowns like that, that's why you don't get good partnerships. And of course, he's probably trolling Glossier for that bullshit. First off, no one asked you. He tries to coin himself as a WNBA fan, but everyone's just saying he's negative. He's blocked by the official WNBA handle. This person in his bio is trying to be like, I'm an influencer for brands. It's like, bitch, you under 2,000 followers on Twitter and Instagram. You look like a joke. He tries to pan himself as someone of color, but he a white boy. Because if you look at his profiles, it's like dark, and then he lets his beard grow all curly, and then he tries to act like he's fashion. Bitch, please.
My favorite part was, and he tries to act like fashion.
He does. He has this weird hat on that's purple, and it has orange shoelaces. The shoelaces are on the wrong.
Oh my God. Oh.
He calls himself the Gucci King.
Oh,
and
okay.
To tell people it's because I could afford it.
Oh, please.
Ain't that trash? Look at him.
Dork.
That's the hat with the shoelaces.
Oh, God. Please. Ah. Well, if it looks like it, probably is it.
Yeah.
Well, that fool, all of them.
Gross.
All of them. You know how we feel about trolls. We go off.
Go back under your bridge.
Thank you. With that, ladies, we are wrapped.
Oh, the cops are coming now.
I know. Can you hear the cops? They're rolling in. They're like, she better get on the run. Go buy some books. Yeah, the book police. They're like, motherfucker, you're coming to Book Soup and you're buying a bunch of books you don't need. Well, I probably will anyway. Yeah. But still, get online. Well, everyone, thanks for listening. Thank you, Elsa Collins, for being such an inspiring guest. Oh my God, she's like a role model. And I can't wait till, yes, all of us vote. Karen, take care of that ballot.
And I will hunt someone, or I will go to the polls.
So weird. That's weird. Make sure you subscribe and review, because reviews help us to get noticed. And make sure you download the Good News Radio app, because it is very, very cool. And you can listen to us, when we come out, and then also do replays on it and listen to the variety of other podcasts that are available in the Good News Radio and Podcast Network. Follow us, DM us. Our social handles are Twitter at the Hoops Talk Pod. Hopefully soon that will be also Instagram, but until then we're still at the Hoops Talking. So kind of weird. We're on YouTube, the Hoops Talk Podcast. We're on TikTok at the Hoops Talking Podcast. And as always, we all need naps.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. And as we nap, how do we want to keep it? I think we want to keep it sweaty and petty. Woo, woo, woo. We out.